Good morning, folks. We are going to get started. Welcome to the 6th Annual Prevention Summit. We're very excited about today's presentation. My name is Lorian Castell, and I am the Director of Prevention and responsible for coordinating our Prevention Summit every year. It's one of my most favorite things to do. And this year we get to experiment with going virtual. So I'm really thrilled that so many of you were able to join us here today on a Monday morning, and on a Monday morning right before a big holiday weekend nonetheless. So we're really thrilled that so many of you were interested in this topic. This is session number 3 of our Prevention Summit this year. And if you missed the first 2 sessions, which were focused on engaging men to address gender-based violence, those sessions were recorded, and we'll make sure that we can connect you to those recordings and any information that you might be interested in. The first session was focused on movement making in the US and Canada and the efforts that the North American Men Engage folks are doing to collect information about what's working in the US and Canada. And the second session was a facilitated roundtable discussion by a panel of folks who are in New York and organizing men and male identified folks locally in terms of engaging men to address gender-based violence. So that's just a little bit of background here. We're very excited, as I've said, about today's session. As anyone who is conscious these days knows, the Adverse Childhood Study and its findings is getting a lot of airplay and has for, well, the last several years, probably a decade now. And we are grateful for the attention that the study and the findings have revealed, and that it's a topic of conversation, particularly in the domestic violence field, in the movement to end domestic violence. The study helps us to make the case for primary prevention, strategies that prevent violence and neglect and abuse from ever happening in the first place, along with activities that seek to change conditions in the culture and in the communities that we live in. And these are conditions that we're seeking to change because they allow this violence to happen in the first place. They allow this violence to thrive. We're very excited to have Tim Hathaway, who is the Executive Director for Prevent Child Abuse New York, having agreed to do this presentation for us today. Who better to talk about the ACEs study and its findings? And we're really going to focus on the implications of the study for primary prevention. Before I introduce Tim, I want to hand it over to my colleague Jennifer Clark, who's just sort of going to take us briefly through the logistics for participating in the webinar, and then we'll get right to it. Jennifer?
Thank you, Lorian, and hello again, everyone. I'm Jennifer Clark. Pronouns are she, they, and we. I'm the operations coordinator with the New York State Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Just a few things to note: everybody was muted upon entry. You do have the ability to unmute yourself if you'd like, but for ease and with the size of this group, we do ask that if you would like to be unmuted to ask a question or make any comments, that you utilize the raise your hand feature, and we can call on you from a queue in that way. We do also allow for interactions and questions to be asked in the chat box. If you would like to ask them anonymously or have them read out, please feel free to send them to myself or to Lorian Castell directly. We are recording today's session, and we'll make sure that you get a copy of the recording link sent to you directly, as well as any resources and a copy of the presentation sent to you via email. We will also be posting the recording on that Prevention Summit webpage, along with the other 2 sessions that Lorian mentioned earlier, which is also in the chat box. So for today, for accessibility, we are also providing live captioning. There is within your settings, there is a button to press CC, which will put the captioning up on your screen. There is also a link directly to the full transcript in the chat box as well, which I can repost. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Lorian.
Thank you. So just to reiterate, you can raise your hand if you have a question or a comment. You'll be unmuted in the queue. If you put something in the chat box to everyone, we will assume that it's okay to read that aloud. We do read that aloud as an accessibility issue. Just, there are lots of people who are joining us from phones. They may not have access to the chat box. So we want to make sure that people understand that they can see what folks' comments are. We will be also saving the chat, as Jennifer said. So I just want to introduce Tim Hathaway, Executive Director of Prevent Child Abuse New York. You have his bio, so I'm going to let him really tell you things about himself that he thinks you should know as we get started. But just as a note of appreciation, Prevent Child Abuse New York and the New York State Coalition Against Domestic Violence have been collaborating for the past several years on the nexus between domestic violence and child abuse and neglect. And it's just been a terrific partnership. And I just want to thank Tim also for agreeing to present today. It's a very busy time for everybody. And we're just so appreciative of this collaboration and the way that we can work together, particularly on these strategies that prevent violence and abuse from happening in the first place. So without further ado, Tim Hathaway, thank you so much.
Thank you, Lorianne, and thank you, Jennifer. I really appreciate all the technical support behind the scenes, so that's wonderful. Thank you so much to all of you for taking time out of your busy days. I know that everybody's moving quickly these days and trying to fit a lot of things in, so I appreciate your being here and taking the time. Quickly, Prevent Child Abuse is a statewide organization really focused on primary prevention in three major ways. One is public awareness issues, helping people understand the issues better. Very similar to much of the work that you're doing, I'm sure, around domestic violence, trying to break down those stereotypes and put good, clean information into people's hands. We do a lot of training and technical assistance, just like this morning. And then we also do a lot of policy and advocacy work. And so that work is out there, it's available. Please feel free to check out our website, preventchildabuseny.org, if you want more information, or feel free to reach out to me directly via email. I do want to say thank you again to Niskative. As Lorianne mentioned, we have a strong partnership with the statewide organization. We feel like we have found very much a kindred spirit between the work that you are doing and the work that Prevent Child Abuse is doing. We so much appreciate the partnership. I'm going to share my screen, and we are going to get started with this presentation. We're focused this morning on reflections on adverse childhood experiences study, really taking a deeper look at prevention perspectives in particular. So my guess is that many of you will have had some exposure to the ACEs study, either in your work or through, I saw several students on board with us this morning, and so you may have heard about it in college courses. So what we will intend to do this morning is just take a look at the core study itself. We're going to move fairly quickly through some slides. I've got a number of different things. Just to note that the slides are referenced for the most part. So when you get the slide deck yourself, you'll be able to pull these up if you would like to. Then from there, we want to explore some work that's kind of grown out from the ACEs study. And again, we think these are bedrock pieces related to prevention, and they're important to use as tools and apply as tools. And then we'll talk more specifically about some strategies, particularly some population-based strategies, specific populations. So that's where we're headed for this morning. Or this afternoon, I guess. We're gonna, like I say, move fairly quickly through some of this. If you do have questions, feel free to get them out there for me. We are gonna take time a little bit later to do some small breakout groups, and Jennifer's gonna help us with that when we get to that moment. You'll have some discussion questions and then we'll come back together. All right, so here we go. What is the ACEs study? So again, many of you have heard some of this, but there was a study that happened in the mid to late 90s, really looking at what's happening relative to the experience of a broad population of people. You see over 17,000 people were involved in the original study. And I like to tell the story that, you know, the work really grew out of Dr. Vince Folletti was working in weight loss therapy and began to notice that there were some amazing rock star kind of people who came into the clinic and lost a lot of weight. But then they went through this cycle where they would lose a lot of weight and then rebound, regain that weight, and struggle with that. And so he began a series of interviews with those people, really trying to ascertain, so what's happening for you as an individual here? And he was really shocked, I think, to find out that there was a thread running through a lot of those stories that was about early adversity and early abuse. From there, he really began to look much deeply. Kaiser Permanente and the CDC began to really study this with this large cohort of people. And what they found was, as you can see on the screen, there was really three areas in particular that began to emerge. One was around abuse, physical, emotional, and sexual. The second area was around neglect, physical and emotional. And then the third area was around family challenges, things like mental illness, incarcerated relative, separation from a significant relative, substance abuse, domestic violence. And so those elements that came up became the core of the ACE study. There are 10 elements typically that are being reviewed when we think about a survey. And again, for any of you, don't do it right now. But if you want to at some point, you can Google ACE survey or Adverse Childhood Experiences survey, and you'll come up with a survey that they used. It's these 10 elements, those questions that people can respond to. Hold on to that thought, because I don't want you to get caught there, but know that is out there. We want to just look quickly at the results that they really discovered. The long and short of it was that the study that they did identified that for individuals who had experienced a significant number of ACEs, those people had a much higher incidence of disease in later life than the general population, which had a lower set of adverse childhood experiences. So we're going to take a look at a couple of slides here. So this first one is looking at major diseases like cancer, stroke, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, liver disease, respiratory disease. And so what you see is that for a population of 100% at the top, for people that had 0 ACEs in the blue, there were about 50% of that population that was disease-free, looking at these major diseases on the left. For people who had 4 or more ACEs, only 20% of that population was disease-free. So there's a significant correlation between individuals who have higher levels of ACEs and they're contracting or coming down with these various major diseases. We're going to look a little deeper into that because again, some of that is like, wow, okay, so that's pretty startling. They also looked at some things like performance relative to social interactions, emotional stability, those kind of things. So this slide that you're looking at is related to serious job problems. So as you can see, for people who had 4 or more, that part of the population had significantly more problems on the job than individuals who had lower ACE scores. So not only did they discover that it was impacting what was going on for the individual's health, but it also was impacting their ability to function in society. We're going to look at this next one, and I think this is important and for a couple of different reasons. So this is chronic depression, and the ACE score or the ACE study identified that for individuals that had 0, depression for men was somewhere around 11%. For women, it was somewhere around 17%. But then when we started to look at the individuals who had 4 or more ACEs, then those numbers really, really increased very, very significantly. So for women, which is extremely startling, you'll see a rate above 50, hovering at almost 60. So all of these slides really get a sense there's really a broad impact related to adverse childhood experiences. And again, this slide is from the CDC, just looking again across kind of that whole breadth and depth of the various problems that have been identified by the ACE study. So, having said that, there's a part of this that's really common sense, right? There's a part of me that says, okay, so a child has some very, very difficult experiences, and then those experiences are going to impact that child, and it's going to make a difference for the child's life in the future. Yep, that makes a lot of sense. So Mr. Obvious emerges once again. But the thing that kind of goes beyond that obvious point is the direct connection to disease. And I think for many people, that becomes one of the critical points. And I think that's why the medical community has gotten behind this work. I think that's why so many federal and state and local agencies and government entities have gotten behind the ACE work, is that it's not just the common sense piece about bad things happen and then you have bad outcomes. It's about there's a direct link in the science between what kids experience and what we can expect in terms of their life outcomes and what we can expect in terms of the overall cost to society as well as to taxpayers. So there's some strong evidence that I think makes this very, very compelling work. This is another way just to look at this piece. Again, the slide from the CDC that shows you kind of sets of a variety of different risk and outcome factors that are impacting the lives of individuals. All right, so I'm going to move us on from that, and I want to show you this triangle because it's kind of one of the bedrock pieces that oftentimes is explored when we start looking at ACEs. So what you're seeing in this slide is a way to think about the mechanism related to adverse childhood experiences. So again, you know, there's a part of all of us, and you've heard this before too, probably in your work, but I know so many times in the work that I do around child abuse prevention, I hear the phrase, well, you know what? My dad hit me and I turned out just fine. So people oftentimes think about abuse in these kind of strange categories, right? So they think about it. A little bit of abuse is going to happen to anybody. It's inevitable. It's not a big deal. We don't need to worry about it. Let's brush that, or let's minimize the consequences. And I think a lot of people also kind of question, well, just because somebody got knocked around a little bit as a kid doesn't mean that this is going to happen to them. So this piece is really designed to help us kind of connect what the ACEs are to what they eventually can unfold and become in the lives of children. So at the bottom here, you have ACEs and adverse childhood experiences. So it's those 10 items that we talked about quickly earlier. What happens is then disrupted nervous, hormonal, and immune development. And so what are we saying there? We're saying that for children who are experiencing a high level of ACEs, their development course is actually interrupted in some significant ways, leading to social, emotional, and learning problems. So I'm gonna take us on, and then we're gonna come back to this in just a second. So I just want to talk about stress for a couple of minutes, and then we're gonna look at some other biological mechanisms here. When we talk about prolonged serious stress, we know that that stress can be toxic for both children and adults. There has been this distinction made in literature that a sort of stress is probably helpful for all of us. You know, it's that stress that gets us up in the morning and says, hey, you got to get going to work because you don't want to be late for this meeting. Or it's that stress that says, hey, you want to do really well on this exam, so you got to study a little bit. So that positive, brief increases in heart rate, mild elevations in stress hormone levels, those pieces of stress are not bad. They're in some ways healthy for us. Tolerable stress hits us when it's serious, temporary stress responses buffered by supportive relationships. So if I have a car accident today and I'm not seriously injured, or maybe even I am injured, my family is going to come around me. They're going to support me. I'm going to have stress. I'm going to have some recovery time related to that. I may have some implications. I got to get my car fixed and all those kind of things. So there's going to be a high level of stress, but it's going to be tolerable, in part because I've got support systems around me, and in part because there's a pathway out of that's fairly clear. Toxic stress really is this prolonged activation, and that's when kids begin to especially see disrupted nervous, hormonal, and immune development reactions. So if that helps you draw the connection there, not all stress is bad, but when we start talking about ACEs, it's this prolonged stress, this intense immersion in an environment that is continually stressful. So we're going to move on, talk about one more piece here, and then we'll go back to that triangle slide again. So why are ACEs so damaging? We're not going to spend a lot of time on the brain biology part of this, and we could spend the whole session on that. And some of you are probably pretty familiar with that. But in short, what happens to our brains when we experience stress is this little lovely hand-drawn diagram that I put up for you. So if we're at rest and there's a threat, and if that threat is a car is about to hit me, or if that threat is somebody screaming in my household or threatening me directly, whatever that threat is, my body instantly has a reaction to that, and it's fight, flight, or freeze. And you're all familiar with this, I'm sure it's been out there quite a bit, but we either get ready to fight or we get ready to run away to save ourselves. And in some instances, we freeze. We kind of check out, as it were. What's happening for our brains at that instant is we're being flooded with this bath of chemicals, and our system overall, both our brains as well as our body, our muscular system, our nervous system, are receiving these chemicals. And what that has the effect of doing for us is it really gives us this heightened allostatic load. So allostatic load, really we're talking about elevated response. So we're on high alert. Our breathing is up, our heart rate is up. Blood is going to be pushed from the core of our body to the extremities of our body. So we're ready to run or fight or whatever we need to do. So that allostatic load that is pushed to our body is the part of this that becomes damaging for children. So typically what's happening is for just a momentary or a singular threat, we go through that rush of adrenaline, we go through that rush of excitement, and then we come off of that. And oftentimes we feel exhausted, our body's kind of recovering because it's used a lot of resources to make us ready for that threat. And now our body recovers and we go back to a state of rest. When the threats are constant and when they are looming, it resets that point for allostatic load. It creates a situation where both in terms of their mindset and their body set, they're on a hair trigger, right? So they're ready, they're primed to take quick action to protect themselves and stay out of danger. And so the chronic stress that relates to ACEs means that violence is at the tip of the tongue. In essence, we develop this life-preserving brain set where the cues, neutral cues that for many other children don't really mean a lot, for children who are experiencing high level of ACEs, those cues become threatening. So children begin to respond to threats much more frequently, much more quickly, and much more flagrantly. And we know, so there are some kids that act out, and there are some kids that go inward and internalize those threats. But the same thing happens. Those kids are moving to one of those positions much more quickly. When kids move into school, they become anxious, disengaged, and poor learners. And so now we're going to go back to our triangle, right? So we talked about disrupted hormonal and immune development. So that's that piece related to children's development begins to become impacted. Their allostatic load is reset to a higher level. That leads those kids to begin to take quick action to defend themselves. So they perceive threat where other children do not perceive threat, and they respond quickly to defend themselves. Then, as those social and emotional impacts expand, so for those kids who respond quickly to threat, they're going to have social consequences. They're going to have educational consequences because the people around them, the other kids in the classroom, the teachers in the classroom, are going to see those predominantly as negative responses. So if they're very aggressive, if they're responding aggressively, then that child is going to become quickly a pariah in the classroom. This kid just hates everybody. He's always acting out. He's always disrupting. He's always misbehaving. Or for that child who withdraws, then that child is going to be hard to engage. And what we know through studies of these children is that teachers see them in a different light. They respond to them in a different light. As much as we hate to say that's true, it is just a reality that unless teachers really work to overcome some of those things, kids that are disruptive, kids that are violent, kids that are extremely withdrawn do not get the same sort of good response and support in educational settings, and they don't get it from their peers. What that leads to is the next rung up on this ladder adopting health harming behaviors and crime. So these kids who are facing now, they're starting to slip in terms of their academic achievement. Potentially, they're starting to see some real impact around social, emotional, and connections with other people. They begin adapting some early risk behaviors, things like early sexual acting out, early experimentation with drugs, alcohol, maybe taking on some risk behaviors related to even their physical health. I'm the kid that's going to try and go out on my skateboard and jump that chasm, or I'm going to race that train in my car because I think I can beat it. But those risk adoption behaviors really are about what? They're about filling some vacuum that the child is experiencing related to their own social, emotional health. So they're looking for, I've got this kind of this gnawing emotional impact. How am I going to fill that? I'm going to try and fill it with things that can help me either forget or dispel some of the cognitive stuff that I'm facing in terms of dealing with this. Those behaviors then lead to non-communicable diseases, disabilities, social problems, low productivity, all of the things that we looked at previously. And then eventually, right now, what they're saying is that based on the ACEs study, that individuals who have a high impact of ACEs potentially will have a death that is 10 years earlier than their peers. Okay, so all that heavy stuff. I know there's a lot of heavy stuff there. We're going to move past all of this because it's not all bad news. And we're gonna shift in a couple minutes and talk about what helps with all of this and where the prevention piece comes in. I want to share this one last slide, and then I'm going to see if we have questions in the chat box. So this piece was actually developed by Dr. Wendy Ellis. Some of you may be familiar with her work. I really like this because many people have pointed out that the ACE study is limiting, right? That there are 10 adverse childhood experiences that are identified, but what about some other things? What about poverty? What about whole realm of other possibilities related to what adversely affects a child? And so Wendy Ellis has put together this great slide that really takes a look at the adverse childhood experiences can kind of be seen as the trunk and the branches above the ground, but those really are rooted in potentially a number of other very complex and very distressing issues that are prevalent in neighborhoods and societies at whole. So I think that they're worth looking at. And I think when we talk in a couple minutes about special populations, that some of this is particularly important to keep in mind. All right, so wow, I have hit you with all kinds of stuff. Just wondering if there are any questions or items people want to share in the chat box real quick. Somebody's going to help me with the chat box if you come up with questions. Anybody have questions?
Tim, this is Jennifer. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat box just yet, and I don't have anyone with their hand raised, but I'll keep an eye out for you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Do feel free to jump in if you have questions. We are wanting to make sure that you connect on things that don't make sense or that you have more questions about. So how can we share this with men? So we wanted to take a little bit of time in particular and talk about adverse childhood experiences as it relates to men and fathers, because as one of the groups that's impacted by adverse childhood experiences, we know that men in particular are tuned in our society to ignore, to not necessarily take a deeper look at some of these issues. And so what does that mean for a group of men who are obviously clearly experiencing some of these adverse childhood experiences, who may not be super excited about talking about them and sharing and communicating about some of these? So where do we go with some of that? So I've got a couple of resources here. We're going to take a quick look at a video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to move us to another a YouTube video real quick. Bear with me, because I think this is one of the really interesting pieces of work. That's not it. Hold on. Let me find it. I just had it. Here we go. This is an interesting piece of work, beginning to help us think about how do we begin to approach some of this stuff with men.
Hi, this is my neighborhood. I grew up in this building.
I think I need to share it too. Hold on.
This is a great community now, but it's had its share of problems. When I was a kid, our community had high unemployment, lack of resources for families, and first childhood experiences, or ACEs. ACEs are traumatic events in childhood, like abuse and neglect, that can increase risk for future problems. But they don't have to. The good news is that ACEs and their consequences can be prevented. Take me, for example. I was at risk for ACEs, and despite all the things that put me at risk, some pretty incredible people helped make sure that I wouldn't become another statistic. Come on, I'll show you around. That's Jackson. He's a cool kid. His dad left when he was 2, and his mom works 2 jobs. I hang out with him every Thursday night and help him with his homework. Sometimes we grab ice cream. It's fun. Plus, he has another adult role model to learn from and trust. That's Mr. Martino. When I was a kid, he let me help him at the store sometimes after school when my parents were working late. He did that for a bunch of us. My dad actually found his job as a mechanic because of Mr. Martino. This helped our family in so many ways. Not only did my dad have a steady paycheck, which eased his stress about paying rent and buying necessities like food and clothes, but he was also a lot nicer to me, my brother, and my mom once he started working a job that made him feel good about himself. When communities come together, they can do so much to prevent ACEs. Mr. Martino and other local business owners put together a series of career workshops to help people like my dad find work. My mom also got a job with a company that allowed her to work from home and spend more time with me and my brother. Mariana has just gotten out of a class about handling challenges of single parenting. The clinic offers free childcare so Mariana's daughter, Ella, can play while Mariana's in class. The class helps parents like Mariana develop positive parenting skills, not just for babies and toddlers, but for teenagers too. This is another way our community has come together to give families the resources they need, and just one more way to prevent ACEs. This was my school, Riverside Middle, right in the heart of town. These kids are here for a sponsored summer camp. This community-supported program helps families with affordable, quality childcare and helps kids get tutoring and learn life skills. When I was a kid, I spent a lot of time at this school all year long. There was one counselor, Miss Greer, who I remember more than anyone. She was a really good listener. Miss Greer helped me and my brother get involved in after-school activities like baseball and soccer. Our coaches were super nice and were mentors to us. Staying after school for practice kept us and a lot of other kids out of trouble. When schools help take responsibility for preventing ACEs, everybody wins. My life could have gone in a completely different direction. Studies show that ACEs can have long-term negative effects on kids' health and well-being that may last into adulthood and even continue in future generations. But by people and groups taking action, ACEs can be prevented. In fact, there are 5 known strategies that help stop ACEs before they even start. you can implement them in your own community, just like we did. How? By strengthening economic support for families, by changing social norms to support parents in positive parenting, by providing quality care and education early in life, by enhancing parenting skills to promote healthy child development, and by intervening to lessen harms and prevent future risk. So, now you know my story, and you've seen the prevention strategies in my community that helped me beat the odds. I had healthy relationships with my family and friends. I learned how to take care of myself and make good choices. And today, I'm a mentor to other kids who need some extra help so they don't become an ACEs statistic. Safe, stable, and nurturing relationships and environments are essential to prevent child abuse and neglect and to assure that all kids reach their full potential. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Banana split? You got it.
Okay, so that's an example, and I'm going to share my screen again.
Our brains develop and change throughout life, enabling us to learn
New things and to adapt at every age. But childhood, and early childhood in particular, is...
All right, we're back. I'm going to share my screen again so we're back on track here. So that's an example of one of the things that available out there, dads. ACEs Too High is another resource that I have here, and again, you'll have these links when you get the PowerPoint deck. You'll have the links; they're embedded here, but you'll be able to connect on these. So ACEs Too High is another spot that people can look for specific resources for dads, and then this. I think this is an interesting video. Rewired Soul is kind of a an everyday guy who's just talking about the adverse childhood experiences work and what it means, and so some of the ways to think about it. So there are lots and lots of different ways to begin to talk with dads and apply this work. One of the things that we're finding more and more is that focusing on solutions that dads can apply makes so much more sense than getting people stuck in the adversity piece of this. And so that's why I started with that video. And I mentioned this earlier about when I was talking about the survey, the ACE survey. You can give the ACE survey to people and it gives them a static number that they cannot do one thing about. Right? So if my ACE score is 3, it's my ACE score. And so if I know it, that raises my awareness and it helps me understand, but I'm also stuck with that number. When we turn to prevention strategies, what we have to begin to focus on is solutions. And so we always encourage people, if you want to give somebody a survey around this stuff, give them a resilience survey. So again, not right now, but at some point, Google resilience survey, and you'll get a couple of different responses there. But there are surveys very much like the ACE survey that help people think about what are the resilience strengths that I have in my life. This video and some of these other ones that are in this also kind of get people thinking about what are the solutions, and regardless of what happened to me, how can I be a part of some solutions for my own kids and for my community around me? So in a couple of minutes, we're gonna do some breakout groups, and Jennifer's gonna help us prepare those. But before we do that, I wanna share one more slide with us, and that is this one, because when we talk about special populations, dads, men are certainly one special population, but there are a lot of special populations that you can probably think about, you probably deal with in your life and in your work. And so there are a couple of things that I want to just share with you briefly, and then we're going to turn and do some quick discussion group. So again, I'm going to stop my share, and I'm just going to show you one other piece quickly, because I think this is an interesting resource that some of you may be wanting to pick up. So I believe you should be seeing a map of the US at this point. And this is from a site called Child Trends. They've done a lot of work around adverse childhood experiences. And so what's interesting about this map that you see is they have different sections of the United States broken down. And they are looking at the percentages of the population that have no ACEs in these various regions of the country. So, and they also have some maps that break things out into state level data, so you can look at particular states. But again, this is perhaps another way to kind of begin to think about other populations that we might be dealing with. And I don't want to go too much deeper into this, just because many of you on the phone probably have so much more experience than I do in working with a variety of populations. But what I want to point out to folks is that there are a number of resources that can help support you and support the work that you're doing around adverse childhood experiences. So Child Trends, again, you'll have this link when you get a slide. I'll go back to the PowerPoint, and then we'll stop skipping around on that. I know it's a lot. The other just tip of the iceberg thing that I want to bring out for people is this section here, and I'll play slides again. So disparities in adverse childhood experiences among sexual minority and heterosexual adults. So this is an example of a study that was done trying to look at what is happening for individuals who are not heterosexual, and what does the ACE study mean for some of those individuals. Again, there's a lot of interesting work around this other special population, and we could go on talking about special populations and the impact of ACEs related to those various special populations. I don't want to overplay the issue of special populations. We talk about ACEs as being the great leveler, right? So ACEs happen to all of us. All of us have traumatic experiences that we've been through. And so in that sense, nobody is really immune to adverse childhood experiences. But at the same time, I think that it is really important for us to acknowledge is that different populations may experience some of these things differently, may be able to find support in very different ways, may have resources available in different ways. So again, it's something for us to think about. So what we're going to do is Jennifer's going to split us into random breakout groups at this point. And what will happen in those breakout groups is I want you to, for 8 minutes, I want you just to just talk amongst yourselves about any of this material that we've been through. In particular, I'm interested in your thinking about some of the work that ACEs might have, some of the impact that ACEs might have around special populations that you're dealing with. So now the trick is you're not going to have a lot of time, so you're going to have to move quickly and talk quickly in your small group. But if you can kind of gauge each other and just take that brief 8 minutes, have a quick discussion, and then we'll come back together. Jennifer, whenever you are ready and want to break us out into those groups, that would be wonderful.
All right, thank you, Tim. I'm going to be opening all of the rooms right now, so a link should pop up for everyone to come out, and you'll see a warning in about 7 minutes.
Okay, so people are rejoining us. Welcome back. We'll give folks just a couple of minutes and then we'll get rolling again.
Oh.
Okay, everybody's joining us again. Welcome back. All right, so just quickly, if anybody has anything that they'd like to share, comments in the chat box, please feel free to do that. I appreciate your taking the time to connect with each other and chat a little bit about some of this work. Anybody have comments that they heard in the chat box that they want to just share, or questions that came out of the chat box? Just a minute to type, and Jennifer, if I can ask you to kind of help me watch the chat box too, and see if anything comes up. So what I want to do now is I want to pivot us just a little bit more deeply into the work around primary prevention. I'm going to share my screen again, and what we're going to do is take just a very quick look at this slide related to kind of the broader palette of trauma, because I think that for many individuals like yourselves who are deeply, deeply steeped in the world of trauma, I think that contextualizing the ACE piece and is part of the prevention element of this. So how does this play into kind of the broader work that's happening? So I think this is a great slide because it looks at kind of these various categories related to very, very complex traumatic events, life-threatening illnesses, domestic violence, sexual abuse in adulthood, torture, trafficking, all of those things. But it also sees how some of that connects to like military violence or a rape or sexual assault or something like that. And then also connects those back into, you know, some of the adverse childhood experiences. There's a ton here, and again, so many more of you understand complex trauma way beyond what I could or hope to, but I do think that this is part of what helps people put this in a broader context when we think about this. So I want to share that with you just so that we have that as a working space. So prevention. All of this negative stuff, all of this bad news, right, about adverse childhood experiences, complex trauma, but there is an antidote, and that is this piece. One caring relationship can mitigate the damage of all of this adversity, and I say this a lot, and I know every once in a while somebody looks at me kind of half funny and like, right, that's great. But this is the reality, because when we think about what's happening for individuals in terms of their exposure to adverse childhood experiences, it's the ability to have a relationship that helps that child return to back that steady state, right? We talked about that allostatic load being constantly always high. The antidote to that is bringing people back down into a lower level of excitement. And so again, there's so many strategies about breathing and breath control around working with people who have experienced trauma, because again, that's about how do we get people back down to a lower level of allostatic load. That's central to this. And relationship is one of the most effective ways to make that happen. When we talk about the ability to really manage our emotions effectively, we learn that management of emotions best in the context of relationship. That's why you'll see strategies like parenting education and understanding child development, because it's about understanding the relationships that are a part of this, making those relationships work well and better really helps mitigate the damage done by adversity. So we're going to talk about hope for a couple minutes, and then we're going to move on and talk about protective factors. So this is not a lie. I actually was talking with a colleague of mine, saying, "Hey, I want to talk about hope a little bit," and they laughed at me. And why did they laugh? So part of it was, we toss around hope pretty laissez-faire, right? I hope it doesn't rain today. I hope that by Thanksgiving this will happen or that will happen. And hope in some ways has been attached to a religious connotation for many people. So all of a sudden, when we start talking about hope as a prevention strategy, it's like, wait a minute, how did we get religion mixed in this? While it is a part of religion, hope that we're talking about really is something that anybody can experience regardless of where you stand on religion. And it is an important healing piece. So we're not going to take the time to discuss a lot here. I'm going to move us along, but I do think for each one of us, when we hear that word hope, we have a different response. There are ideas and attitudes that are connected with hope, and people see it in different ways. But I want to just point out a couple of things about hope, and hopefully you can. Oh boy, I took out a slide that I wanted to keep. So I do want to make this point though. At the bottom of the slide, you see what is the opposite of hope. And this is part of the reason why I think hope is so critical. So what's the opposite of hope? Hopeaholic. I love that. Somebody said hopeaholic. Secure attachment. Those are great comments. Thank you for all the comments in here. So despair. Somebody put in the chat box. The opposite of hope is despair, right? And when we think about individuals who have gone through some of the childhood experiences and through some of the complex traumatic experiences, despair, discouragement is a pretty common issue that people are dealing with. And hope, for all of the bad press maybe that it gets about maybe being a fluff topic, hope really is pretty central to wellness for so many of us. So I'm going to look at the elements of hope real quick, because I think this is a tool for prevention that you can use and that we're certainly using. There are 3 elements of hope, and you got them right here. So the first element related to hope is that people have to see a future that is better than what they are currently experiencing. And so what does that mean? So that means that individuals that you and I encounter on a daily basis, either our family or our friends or people that we work with, they have to be able to see that there is something better out there, something for children, something better for them. And if they can't identify a better future, it's going to be very difficult for them to maintain hope. And so, if you start messing around and looking at this, you'll find that there are a number of scales related to hope, and there are some screenings that you can do related to hope. But I think that you can just talk with people a little bit, and you can find out more about how they think about hope and how they see the future. can they set a path? And so this is really about the individual being able to see that there's a better future, and then being able to identify what would it take for us to realize that. So many times in the world that you work in and that I work in, we talk about safety planning, right? And that safety planning, I don't want to confuse the two of them, but many times safety planning is about being able to identify, so what are the steps that I need to take in order to avoid that situation or remove myself from that situation. In some ways, hope is doing the same thing. It's getting people to try and project themselves into the future and say, okay, what would it take for me to achieve that new sense of future? The third piece of this is the ability to take action. And what the research has told us around hope is that people don't have to go from where I'm at today, which feels like a place filled with despair. They don't have to go from there to a bright, sunshiny future. But if they're able to take one small step, doesn't matter what that step is, but as long as they can see that it's connected to that path for them to make things better and realize a better future, then that is the way that we nurture and support hope. And so again, prevention, when we talk about prevention, I think this is a great place to start with people. I know it's not maybe traditional kind of stuff, but I think there's a lot of power here. And I think we're remiss if we skip over this piece, because people need hope in their lives. And overcoming and working through adversity for so many people is about figuring out how we find hope. And this connects to so many different places. It connects to faith communities, it connects to relationship communities, it connects to what we hope for our children, for ourselves. So I think there's a lot of power in this. I'm not going to belabor that anymore, but I do want to move us on because we have a short amount of time. So I want to talk just a little bit about protective factors framework. This quote, eliminating risk is not enough. We have to build capacity. And actually Jack Shonkoff, who's a pediatrician out of Harvard, this is his comment or his quote. But I think it's central in terms of primary prevention that we have to focus on building capacity. The protective factors framework is a piece of work that was developed by the Center for the Study of Social Policy. Again, once you get this PowerPoint deck, you'll have the built-in items that you see here, protective factors survey. That survey is interesting because it's a tool that can help you actually look at a family in the context of what are their protective factors. And you can use that tool in a lot of different ways. I think it's an interesting way for us as professionals sometimes and as parents to kind of think about, what do we have in place? What are some things that we could work on to build? The action sheets are just an add-on to that. But the protective factors framework really has a few simple elements. We're going to take a look at those. Connection and connectedness is one of those. And again, if you think about the video, the short video that I showed, pretty much the short video that I showed is the protective factors. It just doesn't use all of these same emphasis in these phrases. But protective factors says, first of all, that people have to be connected to one another, and they have to feel a sense of connectedness to the community. And so when we talk about prevention strategies, we're really looking for ways to build relationship that is caring and supportive between a whole variety of people in any given community. So it's a way to focus on relationship between children and parents, between children and other children, between parents and other parents, between parents and community resources. So those various connections that people build and support are really central to understanding that. And I think, again, there are a lot of fancy tools that you can use, but having conversation with people and asking them questions like, who do you feel really connected to? Who's in your life is somebody that you really love to spend time with, that makes you feel good when you're around them. Those connection kind of questions are pretty central, pretty important in this work. So connection and connectedness is one of them. Knowledge about, specifically about child development and parenting. And so we don't think about this often enough, but it's one of the strongest prevention tools that we can run across. So a good example of this is that most parents do not wake up in the morning thinking, I want to give my kid an adverse childhood experience today, right? We don't wake up saying, I want to hurt this kid today. That's not most people. There are a few, and I get it. You probably work with some of those people, so they're out there. But most parents, most people are responding to a whole set of stressors that have pushed them to the edge of their coping skills and make it impossible for them to respond in ways that are healthy and nurturing. This piece about understanding child development takes one of those things off the table, right? So if I, as a parent, understand that my child is not going to be potty trained by 1 year, that it's going to maybe take them 2 years, maybe 3 years to really get that thing down. If I understand that child development piece, I'm much less likely to lose it with my child when they have a bathrooming accident at 1.5. And that's just one example, but understanding child development equips parents to deal with stressors. And the knowledge of parenting is so important. And we find this one of the real tricks right now. There's so much information on the internet. People Google stuff on the internet. It's really hard for parents to find good, solid knowledge about this. So please look for that sort of information that you can share with parents. I know we're short on time. How much time do we have left? So we'll move quickly here and we'll wrap up. Oh, we're past time. So I'm going to wrap up just quickly. So again, I would encourage you, find the protective factors information. I'm going to scroll through a couple more slides. You'll get all of these slides. I wish we had more time.
Tim, I just want to interrupt for a second. I know you. I know we really thought that 75 minutes would be, perfect timing here. I'm going to ask you to do something.
Yeah.
If you have to jump off because you thought this would be, an hour and 15, please feel free to do that and move on to the rest of your day. Tim, I'm going to ask you to finish because we're recording.
Yep.
And if you don't mind, so those of you who can stay with us, I think if we can go till 12:30. That would be fantastic. And we'll start to put resources in the chat box. So Tim, you can have the rest of the time and we'll connect you to some resources because you're so perfectly on point. I really want you to be able to finish. I apologize to anybody who's got to jump off.
Thank you so much, Lauren. I really appreciate that. So, okay, so let's talk a little bit about some specific prevention pieces for parents. So first and foremost, child development. And there's all kinds of great material around what is typical development for children. And of course, there are families who have children with special needs. So I think we want to work with, for families that are in that situation, we want to work with their other community providers to understand development in the context of that child with special needs. But understanding development and what developmental trajectory is like helps parents so very much. Language and vocabulary. Language and vocabulary. So for parents who are male, my hand's up on this, men don't talk very much with kids. You knew that already, not a surprise. Men don't talk a lot with kids. In fact, some of the studies around this indicate that women, just in the general course of a day, will share probably about twice as many words with a child, and in some instances, three times as many words as a man will in that circumstance. So again, socialization, whatever you want to talk about with that, that's just the reality that men don't talk a lot. And they oftentimes, I know I didn't, really understand the importance of talking with kids, of sharing language and vocabulary. So that's a piece of it, is that we need to be talking with kids and to share emotions, to share understanding. We also know that people who may be experiencing domestic or mental health issues, depression, those kind of things, substance abuse, are much less likely to be talking with and doing a lot of vocabulary exploration with kids. It's an important piece because it leads to relationship, it leads to connection, and it really leads to some other things like helping children understand their own feelings. Okay, so when we use language to talk about feelings, it's really powerful for kids to be able to name their own feelings, to identify feelings in others. All of those kind of things are pretty critical. The other thing that we can do to equip kids is we can help them through language understand healthy sexual development, healthy relationship development, because kids that are not equipped with a healthy understanding of what those things are like really are, they have one more risk factor, right? So we want to use language. We want to emphasize the importance of language and vocabulary to parents. It's really a critical tool that they have. Obviously, we want to tell them about ACEs, but don't forget resilience. Don't forget hope. Those are important things that we want to talk with parents about. I didn't say this earlier about hope, but what a powerful question to ask a parent. So how are you teaching your child about hope? That's a big question, right? It may be overwhelming for some people, but an interesting question nonetheless. And then managing challenging behavior. Parents struggle with this so much. I've got 4 boys around our house. I didn't know the answer. I had nights when I was up overwhelmed with what do I do with this child? And I've been in early childhood and social work my entire career. I still didn't have the answers. We need to help parents with these kind of things. It's really critical to them. Okay, so that's enough about that. And then this piece about competence, and this actually is part of the protective factors, cuts 2 ways. It's about building resilience for parents, and it's about building resilience for children. So both of those are considered protective factors. And all of these things cut both ways for both resilience for parents and resilience for kids. Figuring out role models, both good parental role models, as well as how do you be a role model for your child. Real experience, so that we give kids and we give parents real experience with what it's like to play with and talk about emotions, real experience with how do you talk about healthy sexuality with kids, and how should parents talk about that. Those are tricky things for parents. But thinking about behavior management, so how do we give people some real experience with dealing with some of those kind of things? Reinforces the parent, reinforces the child, helps everybody feel like they've had a chance to practice. Intentional action, really being thoughtful about how we design our work with parents to support their resilience, and getting parents to do the same thing, for parents to be intentional about their actions with kids. Reinforcing messages, again, it's all of those positive messages that we give to people, helping parents understand routines, helping kids understand routines. Those are central to building stable relationships. Safety, and we're talking about safety on 2 levels. Safety in terms of physical environment, but we're also talking about safety in terms of the emotional environment. What is it? And about that, building safe and emotional environments, and what do children need to? Again, there are challenges, I understand that, when you're working with families experiencing domestic violence, interpersonal violence, but they're really critical things. And then play and exploration, and those are really key. So many adults do not know how to play. it's a challenging thing for a lot of adults to play. For individuals who've experienced a lot of trauma, it is very difficult sometimes to know how to play. So talking about play, teaching play, helping parents play and helping kids play is really a critical piece around prevention, because we're building resilience for both adults and for children. Okay, so this last piece I want to share with you, and again, given more time, we would take the time, but I do want to show this to you again. You'll get this same tool. We think this is crazy helpful for people. What you see in this is the elements of resilience. So if you want to think about what it takes to build a resilient person or a resilient child, these are the things. These are kind of the standard list of things. So what we do a lot of times with individuals is we ask them to identify, so which of these things do you think you're really, really good at? So are you really good at solving problems? Or are you really good at being optimistic? Or what are you really, really good at? And having people think about that. And then we ask them, so what are some things in this list that you feel like you'd like to work on a little bit? So self-esteem or self-control. But what are the things that you want to work on? And then we ask people to just take a few minutes and kind of, so if it's self-control, what's something that you could do to work on your own self-control? We also can get parents to think about this in the context of their children. So as they think about their own child, what do they think their child's really good at on this list? What does their child really have as a resilience piece? And then maybe what are some things they think maybe their child needs to work on? Self-control. So how, as a parent, can you help your own child work on self-control? What would that mean? And I think as providers, we can support parents around working through this with their children a little bit. So it's a simple tool. Again, I wish we had more time because it's kind of fun to play with this for us as adults and professionals, but hopefully it's something that you can take with you and use a little bit more. So, I have thrown everything at you in the last hour and a half. I know there's a ton of content that I shared. Again, there is a lot of links that are built in. I know that in the chat box, Lorian and Jennifer have provided a ton of stuff as well. So there's lots and lots of stuff that you have available. I will just close out by saying again, thank you so very much. I cannot tell you how much, Lorian and Jennifer, I appreciate your supporting this work and your inviting me to be a part of this day today. Much, much appreciated. My direct email is right here for anybody that wants to contact me directly about any of this information. Happy to answer questions, okay? Thank you all so much. Lorian, I'll turn it back to you.
Well, I'm just going to take 1 minute to wrap up. You know, Tim, you were just so perfectly on point, and I really appreciate that about you. I do want to just say that in the chat box, we have shared some links. Certainly on our online prevention toolkit, we have lots of resources for prevention educators to use to give parents. We also recommend that even if you're not out in the community, in schools or with youth serving organizations, that you are able to use this. You know, many of you who joined us today are working in shelters. There's the Amazing Brain series is something that we know that a lot of survivor, non-offending parents, survivor parents are really interested in learning about child development, all the things that Tim said. It doesn't have to get deep into neurobiology, but just some tactics, some tips for talking with their kids about what they've seen, how it's not their fault, you know, really promoting that notion that the non-offending parent, the adult survivor, can be building resilience and hope in their children, you know, from the shelter. From the work that you're doing when you're counseling children, from the work that you're doing when you're counseling adults. Sometimes just handing somebody a pamphlet with some information can make all the difference. So, you know, we're certainly considering that prevention. Lots of great resources on our online prevention toolkit. It's always a work in progress. In fact, we'll add resources that Tim talked about today. I encourage you to look at the Prevent Child Abuse New York website. If you have any questions when you start to look at our online prevention toolkit about how to utilize the resources, we are always available to support you with stories about how other communities, your peers and your colleagues in the state and across the country are using those resources. So please don't hesitate to reach out. We will be summing up the entire Prevention Summit with a big list of resources that will attach to every session that we've had. So stay tuned for that. And with that, I'll make sure that you have anything that was shared today. You'll have the slides. Jennifer, thank you so much for all that you did for the logistics. Thank you everyone who was able to join us and to stay. It's 12:30. We've kept you longer than we intended. Lesson learned. And Tim, I just can't tell you how much we appreciate you sharing your expertise today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, everybody, have a nice holiday weekend. I'm sure a well-deserved rest if you get it, and we'll all be in touch. Thank you for everything that you do.